Today's big New York Times report reveals the secret behind-the-scenes details of the extensive prep going on in Chicago as we speak, because tonight is the night, a most historic evening, celebrating the most unforeseen political tsunami generated by the incredible gravitational pull of a phenom named
Kamala. You don't have to say it. Kamala.
Wrong!
Thank you, Dana Carvey. Hey, buckle up, because tonight, Kamala Harris takes the stage in Chicago, and when she does, she'll also step onto the world stage like no other candidate in the history of this fragile but enduring experiment in self-governance called democracy. But before we get into today's in-depth assessment of the Harris speech strategy, let's take a quick look back for a second on the journey that has taken Harris from Oakland, California to Chicago, Illinois.
Kamala Harris was born in Oakland, California in October 1964. The daughter of immigrants, her dad from Jamaica, her mother from India. It was her mother who she credits for her determination.
Our mother was fierce in her belief that you will be judged based on your actions, not your words. Our mother also, she was all of 5 feet tall. But if you ever met her, you would have probably thought she was 7 to 10 feet tall.
Growing up with her younger sister Maya, Harris was bused across Berkeley, California for school in the 1960s. She graduated from Howard University and the University of California. And at 55, she's no stranger to making history. She was the first black woman to be elected district attorney in San Francisco and the first woman to serve as California's attorney general.
Take this obligation through.
She became a senator in 2016, known for her prosecutorial style at Senate hearings. Today, she's also the first black woman, the first Asian American woman on a presidential ticket.
So, how will Kamala Harris write the next chapter in her political saga? Today's New York Times reports her convention address on Thursday will tell the story of her middle-class upbringing, cast the 2024 race as the future versus the past, and appeal to patriotism. Kamala Harris often leans on a favored phrase to focus her team before beginning an important project. What business are we trying to accomplish here? Well, in deciding what to say in the most important speech of her life on Thursday, the vice president's answer has been threefold. Aide said, tell her life story, frame her contest with Donald J. Trump as one pitting the future against the past, and reclaim the banner of patriotism for the Democratic ticket. Ms. Harris has been taking her convention address so seriously that she held rehearsals complete with teleprompters in 3 different time zones. Soon after she became a presidential candidate 1 month ago, she told advisors that she saw this speech and any fall debates as the most pivotal moments of the abbreviated race, according to 3 people familiar with her thinking. But in reality, she saw this speech as crucial for even longer than that. The earliest draft of her convention remarks had first circulated back when Ms. Harris was still just a vice president seeking a second term as President Biden's number 2. Now, the reworked address will represent Ms. Harris's biggest turn on the national stage since her sudden ascent to the top of the Democratic Party as she prepares to take on Mr. Trump in an election just 75 days away. Preparations over both her message and her delivery have been intensive. Adam Frankel, a former speechwriter for former President Barack Obama and now an advisor to Ms. Harris, is the lead writer of the address, taking input and suggestions from a wide variety of others. But the vice president herself has workshopped the speech nearly line by line. 2 people familiar with the preparation say. Her rehearsals and discussion sessions have involved teleprompters this week in Chicago, at the Park Hyatt Hotel, at Howard University in Washington, and in Arizona during her first swing state campaign when some advisors traveled to join her at a downtown Phoenix hotel. She understands how important it is, said Cedric Richmond, an advisor to Ms. Harris. I think she probably overstands how important the moment is. The first of the 3 themes of her speech, according to campaign officials with knowledge of it, who were not authorized to speak publicly before the address, is to tell the story of her own life. Ms. Harris is expected to describe her own middle-class upbringing, framing it as allowing her to better understand the needs and struggles of the middle class today. and she's expected to tell voters about her career before the vice presidency, her early work as a prosecutor who rose to become the Attorney General of California. This is an opportunity for her to tell the American people who she is. Brian Nelson, a senior policy advisor to Ms. Harris, who worked with her since her time as Attorney General, said on Wednesday at a Bloomberg Newsmaker event. The second goal is to frame the race as one of future versus past, contrasting her promise to protect freedoms and provide a brighter new chapter with darker warnings of Mr. Trump's agenda and Project 2025, which Democrats have turned into a catch-all cause for concern. The third is to tap into an appeal to patriotism. The party handed out USA signs to delegates throughout the week, and Ms. Harris is expected to pitch herself as a president for all Americans. "We love this country," Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, Ms. Harris's running mate, said in his own address on Wednesday. Ms. Harris's relatively humble roots have been a recurring theme throughout the convention. Speaker after speaker has referred to her early time working at a McDonald's to contrast with Mr. Trump's inherited wealth as a New York developer. "We have a chance to elect a president who is for the middle class because she's from the middle class," as Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York put it in her speech on Monday. It is notable that the only major policy area where Ms. Harris has rolled out her own agenda, separate from Mr. Biden, so far is on the economy, focusing on bread and butter issues such as the cost of housing and groceries. She's thinking about how she talks to the American people so they know she understands what they're going through. Mr. Richmond said of the speech that she cares about what they're going through, that she wants to offer a solution to what they're going through, and that she's going to do the hard work to do it. In just a few short weeks as a candidate, Ms. Harris has already honed a regular speech on the campaign trail that has inspired eager participation from her crowds. They cheer, "We're not going back," and wait for her quip, linking her past as a prosecutor to Mr. Trump, "I know his type." But those lines have mostly been delivered to Democratic crowds. And while the convention hall certainly will be filled with those voters, television viewers will offer Ms. Harris the opportunity to appeal to a wider electorate, including independents and open-minded Republicans. Ms. Harris is trying to walk a complex tightrope to present herself as a new leader for the country, even though she's part of the current administration. She's also trying to counter the Trump campaign's portrayal of her as dangerously liberal, and she has backed away from a number of more progressive positions she took during her presidential run in 2020. Ms. Harris has carved out a reputation as a sharp debater and a questioner of witnesses in the Senate more than as a soaring orator. But Nathan Barankin, her former chief of staff in the Senate, said that was an underestimation of her skills, to the extent that people have an impression that delivering speeches is not a strength. Well, that's a product of her reading words other people have put in her mouth. He said, when she is directly engaged, she makes the content and delivery better. Now, after a week of tremendous contrast in character between the two political parties, well, this will come down, I don't think so much to polls or pundits. I think it's going to come down to something that I call the visceral vote. That's that unforecastable moment when a voter entering a voting booth in the fall thinks long and hard about the displays of the two visions that they've seen this summer of the future of America, for the country and for the generations to come. And that visceral vote, that will be the demarcation gesture that hopefully endorses the kind over the cruel, the noble over the noxious, the future over the past, but mostly democracy over autocracy. Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris will make the case for democracy, and make no mistake, that's exactly what's on the line. It'll be a privilege to watch. And until then,
bye-bye.